This is K.M. Weiland, and you are listening to the 261st episode of the Helping Writers Become Authors podcast. As some of you may know, I'm not generally a big fan of winter. The cold and the dark don't usually combine to make me the happiest of campers. I've learned from past experiences not to start writing a first draft in the middle of winter, since those first 50 pages are usually the toughest, and combined with the cold, I can get downright grumpy. But it looks like I'm headed toward a first of the year first draft for Wayfarer. I overdid it on my research, even though it's the most fun I've ever had researching. So I'm estimating I won't finish with the research until the end of the year, which means I'll be starting my next first draft in the middle of winter. So brace yourselves, Katie might get grumpy. The latest post in the video series on my blog is the amazing and simple 3-step plan for learning how to write. It answers a question I've been getting from multiple sources about how yours truly went about learning to write. To find the post, visit my site at helpingwritersbecomeauthors.com. And now I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast entitled, You've Been Writing Sentences Wrong All Your Life. Find out why. The sentence. It's the building block of all books. Without it, we may have a poem, a song, a movie, a painting, an interpretive dance, but we sure as scuttlebutt don't have a book. Most of us learn how to write and diagram sentences in grade school. So out of the many potential pitfalls of writing a story, surely the simple sentence isn't likely to be one of them. But what if I said you've been writing sentences wrong all your life? And I'm not talking grammar here, folks. You can have a perfectly parsed, perfectly punctuated sentence that would have that grade school teacher of yours blush for pride, and it can still be wrong as wrong for your novel. I'm also not talking motivation reaction units, or MRUs, which I have addressed elsewhere. So, what's with this pandemic of poor sentences? Why are even the best diagrammers amongst us at risk? Basically, it all comes down to this. We totally take the sentence for granted. The very fact that we've all been writing more or less grammatically correct sentences for most of our lives means we don't even think about what we're doing. Subject, check. Predicate, check. Period at the end, check. Done. That may be good enough for your latest email to the bank, but it's not good enough for an author. Sentences are the colors on your palette. If you're not looking past sheer utilitarianism and exploring your sentence's full potential for hooking, guiding, and fulfilling readers, then you've got a whole new world to explore. Forget modifiers, direct objects, and interrobangs. The most important thing you need to know about any sentence is where it's pointing readers. Where does the emphasis lie in each of your sentences? More often than not, you're going to want that emphasis at the end of the sentence. Because if you're putting it at the beginning, why do readers even need to bother reading the rest of the sentence? The first half of your sentence should be the hook, pulling readers in. The second half should be the payoff. In his perennially amazing guide story, Robert McKee explains, excellent writing tends to shape itself into the periodic sentence. If you didn't want me to do it, why'd you give me that look, gun, kiss? The periodic sentence is the suspense sentence. Its meaning is delayed until the very last word, forcing the audience to listen to the end of the line. So, example time. Consider how the ordering of the phrases in the following sentences changes the emphasis and the point. Mary put her hands on her hips. If you're wanting a divorce, this is hardly the time. Versus, Mary put her hands on her hips. This is hardly the time if you're wanting a divorce. The difference is subtle. Same words, same information, but the first example emphasizes the time. Why isn't this the time for a divorce? And the second example emphasizes the divorce. Why does the other person want a divorce right now? The technique becomes exquisitely useful when you're dealing with longer sentences. Remember, you want to hook the reader into reading the whole thing, which means you don't want to completely reveal the point of the sentence until the very end. Here are some classic examples from master authors, contrasted with rewritten versions that shift the emphasis. This is the original. In the week before their departure to Arrakis, when all the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, an old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul. Which, of course, is from Dune by Frank Herbert. And the rewrite. An old crone visited Paul's mother the week before their departure to Arrakis, when all the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy. Or how about, halfway between West Egg and New York City sprawls a desolate plain, a gray valley where New York's ashes are dumped. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Contrast that with New York's ashes are dumped in a desolate gray valley halfway between West Egg and New York City. The suspense sentence will not be appropriate for every sentence you write, but its power can do more than just transform your narrative style. It can reach into your reader's subconscious and pull them irrevocably under your story's spell. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, you can visit my website at helpingwritersbecomeauthors.com. And be sure to check back again next week.